not only Lashon Hara, what about, people are instigators. They'll drop a piece of information, which is literally like explosive. They'll say something. Where do you think they picked this up? Either they, as a child, as they were younger, they saw it, or they had some kind of interest in that. You have to stop it. He's not speaking truth. So he cites the Vilna Gaon, Ki adibor v'amido sorech hergul rav, v'hergul al kol davar shilton. He says, the Vilna Gaon writes that speech, what comes out of our mouths, and one's character needs a tremendous amount of conditioning to take on an attribute, a characteristic. It's interesting. Once something is ingrained in a person, you do it naturally. It comes natural. You almost do it reflexively. The only, in terms of all the senses, abilities of a human being, speech we have the least amount of control of what we say. You wake up in the morning, you've been speaking. It comes naturally, effortless. You could speak. Seeing and speech comes effortless. Listening is effortless. It's effortless. So anything which is effortless, to take control of that, it has to be conditioned. You have to be trained and conditioned only to say what you should say, not what you're not supposed to say. Therefore, sometimes we say it's best to say less than say more. We read in Pirkei Avos that Reb Shimon says, all my life I grew up among wise people. And the most valuable attribute I learned from them was silence. That was the most valuable attribute I learned. When you're silent, I lecture, I give shiurim, and before I finish saying what I want to say, the person's asking the question already. So I say to the person, I haven't yet said what I want to say. What are you asking? People, they ask not to ask on what's being said. They want to be heard. They already have an idea of what you're going to say, therefore they already have a question. If you want to learn, listen, be attentive, and if there's what to talk about, then you'll ask. What are you asking me to? You haven't even finished speaking yet. So what does that tell? And many people, they'll interrupt a person's conversation, which is a disrespect. It's a disrespect. The law is, there are two mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to honor a parent and to revere a parent. Revering, the Talmud says, you should not sit in your father's or mother's seat. You should not interrupt their conversation. When your father or mother speaks, you should not interrupt the conversation. Let them first finish speaking, and then you ask and you comment in a respectful way. You can't just disagree with your parent. I disagree with you. You're not your father or mother's peer to disagree. And if you want, you state your position in a respectful way. I don't understand. Why is it this way? Whatever it is. You just can't go toe-to-toe because you think you're so smart. Unless your parent says to you, what do you have to say? That's something else. But why does one interrupt somebody else's conversation? It's a disrespect. Because factually, people are not conditioned to listen, we speak. We speak and it comes so easily. So unless he says, the Vilna Gaon says, unless a person is mentored and conditioned to only say what he should say, it's impossible to take control of that power of speech. And midos, they have certain inclinations. They're inclined. Sometimes a person is too generous. Too generous. It's not good to be too generous. Because if you're too generous, you worry about the dog on the street and people who have no relevance to you. And it takes away your focus. You can't address everything in the world. You have to address what you're most responsible to. So therefore, these are all in characteristics. We have potential to develop those characteristics and to hone them, but that needs conditioning, tremendous conditioning. Famous word from Yisrael Salanter. He says, it's easier to learn through Talmud, the whole Talmud, in depth, than change one negative characteristic. Once a negative characteristic is ingrained in a person, To change that, it's like moving mountains. That's how difficult it is. It takes tremendous amount of focus and conditioning and going against the grain, which is not easy because there's always slippage. We always regress or we backslide continuously. And that's what he says, the Vilna Gaon. Speech and inborn characteristics, attributes, it's all dependent on what? On conditioning. So when's the best time to start conditioning someone? When he's a child. You teach a child good study habits. As an adult, you've done tremendous favor for your child, because focus is all based on study habits. Person was never taught study habits, that person has difficulty focusing when becomes an adult, and it's not due to ADD and whatever the label they put on the person. Ritalin is not going to help you because he doesn't have study habits.